Were you surprised the way Conor came out with those high kicks, those spinning wheel kicks?
No, not at all. He usually does a high kick, a spinning stuff, or he does I was ready for the rush, as you can see, so that's why I moved back, So it sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's not it. What it is you just tried a crazy move. You tried a crazy move. You tried a jumping roundhouse kick. And when you're in that position, when you throw that jumping roundhouse kick, if you don't land in a good way with a supporting leg, you put so much pressure on that knee. The way he landed, he threw the kick, he jumped up, he threw it, and he landed with his knee in the worst position.
Snaps his foot, and he winces in pain. Fuck! I fucking hate my life! This is the one fucking escape I get, and it's shit! And McGregor's just limping around like my fucking nan! Fuck!
I had the man weak in the knees, I guess, so. All jokes aside, I just hope he's good, I know Conor been battling some stuff. Looked like he really been changing. He found God. He had his kids in there, so, during the fight, you could obviously tell his demeanor changed, And I was, shout out to the ref. I was trying to tell the ref sooner, like this guy's kids is front row, I don't want to see him take unnecessary damage. Trying to stop the fight, but this is how crazy Conor is. The first time he's on the ground, I was punching him. He's like, fight. I was like, okay. That's why I backed up. I said, stand up there. Let's fight. And then he fell back down, and then the fight was called. When I saw him hurt, I was like, man, come on. Like, you call this. He was done, and he wanted to fight. Tried to stand up again, fell back down. I just hope him a speedy recovery, It's all love to him. The man, like I said, is trying to change his life around, so, sending prayers his way.
Yeah. You had a better look at it than anybody, and you identified it earlier. Do you think it was that first kick that he threw?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did the UFC podcast before I came here, and me and Wonderboy was talking about it. Even with him walking into the octagon, it didn't seem, it just didn't seem like the same Conor. Like I thought, he stood there to fight, but like I thought he'd be a little bit more rowdy, a little bit more crazy. He looked like really, really calm, like super calm. So I was just kind of like, oh wow, let's see how this goes. And then of course I knew he was gonna attack me with something, and it was that kick. So it sucks.
Dana, can you? I think we're all trying to process everything. I guess can we get your immediate thoughts? It felt like honestly one of the best fight cards of all time, and then we get to this weird main event ending. So I guess your immediate thoughts as you sit there right now.
Yeah, listen, everybody who knows anything about the fight business, and it's been a big topic of discussion leading up to this fight. 5 years off in this sport is rough. And like you said, great card, unbelievable. I mean, the Paddy Pimblett thing right before, you just feel it all in the air. Here we go. I mean, I was expecting at least a one-round war, or, who knew what Conor was capable of as far as cardio or whatever else after a 5-year layoff. And, well, there you go. I mean, we're assuming blown ACL. I'm no doctor, but that's what I figured when I saw it, and doctors think the same thing, too.
I was going to ask you, have you had a chance to talk to Conor? It sounds like you've talked to the medical team. Have you talked to Conor? Do we know exactly the extent of what happened?
I haven't. Is he coming out here? We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think he left the arena right.
Then the answer is no. We'll find out when he gets an MRI.
Max said right away, hey, man, well, now we got to set this thing up for a trilogy, right? I mean, is there any desire from your point? I mean, you know promoting better than anyone. Does that even make sense to do a trilogy right now? Or the way that ended, do you have to go a different direction?
I don't even know. I don't know. You got to take some time. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I don't like talking about making fights the night of the fight. But definitely not in this scenario.
The combat sports world has been rocked by something almost no one anticipated, and the shockwaves are reverberating through every corner of the MMA community in ways that feel genuinely unprecedented. Conor McGregor and Max Holloway share a connection that stretches back more than 10 years, rooted in an era when both were still ascending through the featherweight ranks, fighting for position and recognition rather than legacy and immortality. When they first met in 2013, the landscape looked completely different. McGregor was an unpolished but explosive talent, barely registering on the global radar beyond his devoted Irish fan base. Holloway was a young prospect still discovering his own potential, still learning what kind of fighter he would ultimately become. McGregor secured the victory in that encounter, then launched himself into superstardom, constructing one of the most legendary careers the sport of mixed martial arts has ever witnessed. Holloway remained anchored at featherweight and methodically built a case as perhaps the most dominant and technically complete champion that division has ever produced. For years, the idea of a rematch lingered as a tantalizing piece of unfinished business, something fans debated but never truly expected to materialize. Then it finally did materialize, and the outcome has sent shockwaves through the entire combat sports landscape that go far deeper than anyone could have imagined. McGregor was stopped before the first round concluded. A technical knockout finish within the opening 5 minutes, accompanied by reports of a significant injury sustained during the contest, has ignited a level of analysis, debate, and reflection across the MMA community that transcends the usual rhythms of post-fight discourse. This is not simply a matter of one fighter losing to another. This is about what the result implies, what it exposes, and what it potentially signifies for a career that has been among the most influential and contentious in the entire history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Experts and analysts who dedicate their careers to studying this sport have been quick to emphasize that the circumstances surrounding this first-round stoppage carry profound implications. An injury that plays a role in a round one finish creates a narrative that resists easy interpretation. Immediate questions flood the conversation. Was McGregor entering the cage already dealing with some form of physical compromise? Did the injury manifest during the actual exchange, fundamentally altering the trajectory of what the audience was witnessing? And perhaps most difficult to address, was this current iteration of Conor McGregor ever truly capable of matching the level Max Holloway brings to competition at this stage of their respective careers? These are not trivial questions, and the serious voices analyzing this fight are treating them with the gravity they deserve. To fully grasp the magnitude of what transpired, it is essential to understand the context both men carried into this rematch. McGregor's journey back to active competition has been one of the longest, most publicized, and most intensely scrutinized comeback narratives the sport has seen in modern history. The catastrophic leg fracture he suffered in his bout against Dustin Poirier back in 2021 was not just a setback, it was a career-threatening injury that required extensive surgical intervention and a grueling rehabilitation timeline. The recovery process played out in the public eye, every stage dissected by fans, commentators, and fellow fighters alike. Every training video, every social media post, every interview McGregor gave during that extended period was subjected to exhaustive analysis by people trying to determine whether the fighter who would eventually return could genuinely compete at the championship level in a division that had continued evolving rapidly during his absence. Holloway, by contrast, had spent that same period reinforcing and expanding his already formidable legacy. The virtuoso performance he delivered against Justin Gaethje in their BMF title fight showcased a level of controlled aggression, relentless volume striking, and championship-caliber composure that reminded the entire sport exactly why he is regarded as one of the most well-rounded and dangerous fighters of his generation. Holloway moves forward relentlessly. Holloway does not back down. Holloway discovers the cadence of a fight and imposes his will on his opponent in a manner that very few fighters across any weight class can replicate. His cardiovascular conditioning is not merely exceptional, it functions as an actual offensive weapon. When this rematch was officially announced, several highly respected analysts immediately voiced the same fundamental concern. The stylistic dynamics had always tilted in Holloway's favor during any prolonged high-volume engagement. McGregor's route to victory was always going to necessitate landing something decisive early, disrupting Holloway's offensive flow before it fully took hold, and avoiding the kind of cumulative damage exchanges where Max genuinely excels. That has always been the foundation of McGregor's success. His left hand is not just powerful in a conventional sense, it carries a specific type of threat that forces opponents to respect his striking at all times. His ability to read distance with precision, create angles that confuse opponents, and time a single devastating counter has produced some of the most iconic moments in UFC history. But none of that technical brilliance matters if a fighter cannot physically execute, and that is where the injury component becomes so critically important. The prevailing sentiment among professionals who have analyzed this fight in depth is that the round 1 TKO stoppage is nearly impossible to evaluate comprehensively without understanding the complete picture of what McGregor was dealing with physically. A fighter who has absorbed the kind of cumulative punishment McGregor's body has endured over his career, particularly following a compound leg fracture of that severity, faces physical realities that do not always reveal themselves in training footage or public appearances. Soft tissue integrity, mobility limitations, lateral movement capacity, the ability to pivot effectively and create distance under sustained pressure. All of these elements are directly relevant to what unfolds inside the cage. And all of them represent areas where a previously injured fighter can find themselves seriously compromised, often without the broader audience realizing it until the fight actually begins. If McGregor stepped into this contest already carrying underlying damage, then what the audience observed was not necessarily an accurate reflection of where his skills and abilities currently stand. That is not intended as an excuse, it is simply an analytical reality. Fighters make decisions about when they believe they are ready to compete, and those decisions carry consequences. But it does introduce a crucial layer of complexity to how this result should be interpreted and understood. What is not complex whatsoever is what this result means for Max Holloway. This performance only reinforces an argument that was already nearly impossible to contest. Holloway finishing McGregor inside 1 round, regardless of the surrounding circumstances, adds another significant achievement to a legacy that already includes multiple featherweight title reigns, Fight of the Year performances, and signature victories over the most elite competition the division has ever produced. The demand within the sport to see Holloway eventually unify titles or revisit a super fight scenario with a fighter like Ilia Topuria will only intensify following this result. For McGregor, the questions are exponentially more difficult to answer. He has spoken candidly and frequently about his desire to compete, to reclaim what he once possessed, and to demonstrate that the version of himself that fundamentally changed the sport forever is still capable of performing at the highest level. This result does not provide clean answers to those questions. An injury-affected TKO finish in the opening round creates more uncertainty, not less. The combat sports world will demand to know what exactly transpired, how severe the injury is, what the medical timeline looks like moving forward, and whether McGregor himself genuinely believes a viable path forward at this level still exists. Those around him, and those who respect what he accomplished during his prime years, will hope that he takes the necessary time to make that assessment honestly, and without the pressure of commercial expectations distorting the picture. Legacy is constructed over the entirety of a career, not saved or destroyed by any isolated result. But the manner in which a fighter navigates the difficult moments near the end of their career often shapes how they are remembered just as much as the iconic victories that defined their peak. The combat sports community is not dismissing McGregor or erasing his contributions. His place in the history of this sport is secured in ways that no single fight result can diminish. But the conversation that follows this finish will be one of the most consequential that has surrounded his name in years. Not because of what it means for divisional rankings or title contention, but because of what it forces everyone, including McGregor himself, to honestly confront about where things currently stand. This is a story that is far from reaching its conclusion. The injury introduces a chapter that has yet to be fully written or understood. The fundamental question surrounding his future, which was already complicated before this fight took place, has now become the defining narrative that will follow McGregor into whatever comes next. Whether that next step leads back to active competition, toward a different kind of role within the sport, or toward a genuine and final chapter of retirement, the result of this fight will serve as the context through which every future decision is interpreted and understood. And that is precisely why this moment genuinely matters, beyond the official scorecards and the viral highlight reels. So here is the question worth genuinely considering and reflecting upon. Given everything McGregor has endured physically over recent years, and given what we all witnessed in this fight against Holloway, do you believe a healthy and fully prepared version of McGregor can still compete at the elite level in the UFC, or has the window for that level of competition closed permanently? Share your honest assessment in the comments section. This represents one of the most important and meaningful debates the sport has encountered in years, and every perspective contributes to that conversation. If you want to remain informed about every major fight result, comprehensive post-fight breakdown, and developing combat sports story as it unfolds, subscribe to this channel. More in-depth analysis is coming, and you absolutely do not want to miss it.